It is Super Bowl week, man, and right now there's a lot of rumors swirling around the Pittsburgh Steelers, quarterback talk, a bunch of different things. We're going to address all those rumors on today's edition of the Steelers Talk Mailbag here. And if you want to get a question on a future edition of one of our mailbags here, make sure you guys click that subscribe button today to join the most interactive Steelers YouTube community here on YouTube. We have weekly live shows where you can get your questions in. Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to have your voice heard right here on Steelers Talk, make sure you click that subscribe button and join us on Wednesdays. So I'll pause and open it up for questions here, starting with Cynthia. Says, hey, Jack, what should we do with Cory Trice Jr.? Keep him on the roster and see what you have in him when he comes back. I mean, obviously, he's had multiple knee injuries in his career, so his speed may be gone. It's very possible that Cory Trice Jr. is just not going to be a thing in the National Football League. I still like the pick to get him in the 7th round. He's absolutely worth that lottery ticket, whether he works out or not. But he certainly has the size. He's got the physicality. He's got the long arms that the Steelers really look for in starting corners for their team. And he's certainly somebody that fits that bill. I'm really hoping that kid can come into training camp next year and ball out. We got one from, guys, I can't say this. The Ohio State, you guys can deduce what that says. And he says, I heard Jim Harbaugh say that J.J. McCarthy is the best QB in this year's draft class. Could Justin Herbert to the Steelers be in play? I highly doubt it. All right, I've been saying for weeks that this is not going to happen. And if you're dreaming about Justin Herbert suiting up in the black and gold, at least next year, it's not going to happen, guys. I think one of the big reasons why Harbaugh took the job there in LA was because of Justin Herbert, all right? I mean, people spend draft capital, sometimes 3 first-round draft picks for the hope that that quarterback turns into Justin Herbert. So now that they have a guy like him, passing on him and trading him away for a guy like J.J. McCarthy, who I have a 2nd-round grade on right now, I'm just not sure is a good idea for the Los Angeles Chargers. And it might be one of the worst decisions in the history of the National Football League when it's all said and done if something like that happens. So, if they offered, if you give us 3 first-rounders for Justin Herbert, I'd take that. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you trade 3 first-round picks, including this year's pick, okay? So the next 3 years of first-round picks in exchange for Justin Herbert. Type yes or no down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no down there in the comments. Then we got one from Dominic here. He says, should the Steelers hire Hines Ward or Santonio Holmes as our wide receiver coach? I think Hines Ward, man. I mean, he was a head coach in I think it's called the UFL now with the San Antonio Brahmas. He's been around the league a little bit, in little assistant roles and all these different things. We actually talked to him on the show at Super Bowl week last year. He's a good guy. Obviously, he's Steelers legend. He knows the Steeler way. He knows what it takes to win championships, and he knows what it takes to be a great Steelers receiver. So what I love to see him as head coach or wide receiver coach, 100% bring Hines Ward back to the Steel City. So before we get into the rest of the questions on today's show, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. And if you want this year's Super Bowl viewing experience to be even more interesting for yourself, you can get started today with Prize Picks, which is a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. Now, you might be asking yourselves, Jack, how does this work? Well, here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So let's take a look at my entry for Super Bowl 58 between the 49ers and Chiefs. I'm an optimist, guys, so I'm going to take the more on Christian McCaffrey rush yards because he's awesome, and then I like both tight ends in this game, and Travis Kelce and George Kittle to get more than their projected receiving yards on the Prize Picks app. You can get your picks in now before the big game kicks off on Sunday, but checking it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now before Super Bowl 58 kicks off. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Then we got one from Gold Club member here, DJ KJ. And he says, can we trade a 2nd-round pick for a QB and then use a first on an O lineman? And would you rather draft a center or a right tackle? So, DJ, all these questions depend on what they do in free agency. Second round pick, I mean, if somebody like Michael Penix Jr. is sitting there in the second round and Kenny Pickett is slated to be your starting quarterback, I mean, yeah, sure, we can get Michael Penix. But honestly, I'd be more in favor of getting somebody in the later rounds, like maybe a Spencer Rattler or a Talia Tagovailoa or a Michael Pratt, something like that, as opposed to getting somebody in the second round. I think the early round picks need to be focused on some of these bigger team needs, like you said. So offensive lineman in the first, absolutely would do that. And then between center and right tackle, which one's the bigger need? It's center, all right? Because you have Dan Moore Jr., who at least you can kind of trust on an NFL field. It's like a swing tackle. You can't trust Mason Cole. This brother stinks at, everything. Blocking, snapping the football. This guy is not a starting center in the league. You have to get a new center. So if you're choosing me to pick between center and right tackle, I'm picking a center. Then we got one from Ben Roethlisberger. And he says, why is James Washington not on a team? Because he stinks. That is why. I hate to break it to you. I'm sure you're a big James Washington fan if you're asking this question, but he's undersized and he's not good at football, unfortunately. Then we got one from Thomas Bridge. And he says, what are the chances that Jaylon Johnson is a Pittsburgh Steeler? Not high, okay? And the reason why I say that is because I think the Bears are going to franchise tag him. That's what I think, man. And if he gets franchise tagged, obviously Steelers pretty much have no shot at him unless he gets traded after he gets tagged, which I don't see happening. The Bears really like him. Jaylon likes it there in Chicago. So if he gets tagged, I think he's just going to stay there. So I think that's what's going to happen. Don't think Jaylon Johnson is going to be available, even though Omar Khan and the Steelers did try to trade for him at the NFL trade deadline, and I think they will be interested. Now, shout out your guy down there in the comment section. Which free agent do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers to sign? Do you want Jaylon Johnson? Do you want L'Jarius Sneed? Do you want Tyler Boyd to come back to the city of Pittsburgh? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Which free agent do you want to see in black and gold next year? And make sure you guys to click that thumbs up icon if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're a real one. What clicking that thumbs up icon does for our channel is it tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to new people that haven't seen our content before. So if you want to help us grow and help do your part to make this the best damn Steelers channel on YouTube, it already is, but who are we kidding? But let's make it even bigger. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. Then we got one from Christian Andujar, and he says, for the Steelers' first pick, who would you rather draft, Cooper DeJean or an offensive tackle? And, like DJ's question earlier, it depends on what happens in free agency. Because obviously if they take, like, say, L'Jarius Sneed in free agency and then they maybe even sign Trent Brown as a tackle, then you're not going to be drafting an offensive tackle, right? So if they get an offensive tackle in free agency, that takes away that need. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do there. But if you don't pick up a free agent offensive tackle, which is fairly likely for the Steelers, that means you got to address offensive tackle, and you probably got to do it within the first 2 rounds. This is a very deep offensive tackle class, but it's really, really hard to find good tackles, and they usually go early, all right? So you got to get one early. But for me, man, I love Cooper DeJean. I took him in my first Steelers mock draft that came out just a couple days ago. So for me, I'm going to go Cooper DeJean because I think he's a souped-up version of Brian Branch, and I want that versatility on this defense. Then we got one from Damian Roy. He says 1.9% with an OC that had predictable play calling. Can't win with you guys get it, play calling. Well, you also can't win with a quarterback that's like 37th in accuracy rating, okay? You just can't. I mean, it's not, with respect, Damian, all right? I love you, my man. It's not either or, all right? It's not Kenny Pickett sucks or Matt Canada sucks. It's very possible that both of them were terrible, all right? It's so possible. I mean, in fact, for these numbers to be this historically bad, both of them have to be bad, right? It can't be that one. I mean, Kenny Pickett's a good quarterback. You would think he'd put up at least Mason Rudolph's numbers, right? But no, he didn't. He was worse than Mason this past year, and he started the year as the 3rd-string quarterback. All right, so I don't think – so obviously the play calling sucked with Matt Canada. I think we all acknowledge that. You guys know how much I hated Matt Canada. But Kenny Pickett, as somebody that has watched every single snap of that 2023 season on all 22 at least 3 or 4 times, Kenny Pickett was terrible. There was opportunities for him to hit guys down the field. On the rare occasions Canada actually got people open for him, he would miss them because he's not accurate. So I'm not somebody that thinks Kenny Pickett is an accurate quarterback. I don't think he's a good quarterback, and I think both Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett were bad last year. That's why the offense was as bad as it was. Then we got one from Spider2. Why banana? I love that one right there, man. And he says, which a mid to late round quarterback or quarterbacks would you be okay with the Steelers taking in this year's NFL draft? So I like Spencer Rattler. All right. I like that idea because he's got the talent to be a starter. All right. And if you can find a quarterback with enough talent to be a starter on day 3, that is such a steal. I think Rattler was the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl, maybe other than Michael Penix, but he was really good. He was the MVP of the game. And if you can get him at like 119 in the 4th round, I don't think he gets that low, but if he falls that much, I think you'd probably take him if you just have Kenny Pickett in a backup. I think that's probably the guy. And then Talia Tagovailoa, another guy to keep your eye on. I watched him live at the Shrine Bowl last week, and this guy was playing at a different speed than anybody else on the field. Now, I know the Shrine Bowl is a little bit lower of a class than the Senior Bowl, but there's still D1 athletes out there, and he was playing pretty darn fast, and he was playing loose, and he was letting it rip, and he really played well. So if he falls to like the 6th round, which is where he's expected to be, I think the Steelers have to think about taking him. I like Talia Tagovailoa as well. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, which QB do you want the Steelers to draft this year? Do you want them to trade up for one of the top guys? Do you want them to wait and maybe take like a J.J. McCarthy? Do you want to wait even longer and get a guy like Spencer Rattler? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Let me know which QB you want the Steelers to draft this year. And, hey, if you don't want them to draft any quarterbacks, just let me know that down there in the comments section. And for a shout-out on a future edition of Steelers Doc, you can go follow me at Jack_Sperry. So today's shout-out to Michael, JT, Jimmy, C. Antoine Hill. Antoine Hill, I guess, created 2 accounts just to follow me, so I appreciate the double shout-out there, Antoine. We got Shadow, we got Kaylee, and we got Tyler. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. And all you have to do is go to Twitter right now, go to at Jack_Sperry, and give me a follow for a shout-out on a future edition of Steelers Talk. And, of course, make sure you click that subscribe button for the most interactive Steelers content here on YouTube. We do these live watch parties every single week on Wednesdays. So if you want to get a question on next week's mailbag, make sure you click that subscribe button and join us on Wednesday.